Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you. I know that.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans, and yes, I'm checking my sound to make sure it's on. I hope you all can hear me. Right, tonight we've got a real cracker. It's going to be a fantastic evening, as it always is on Loving Life with the live streams. But anyway, before we get into that, there's a painting for sale, and it's the elephant. The elephant. Beautiful, beautiful Bonnie Hutt painting. And let me just tell you a bit about this painting. Let me get that on for you. Here we go. Okay, it's the elephant. The artist is Bonnie Hutt. It's 30 centimeters by 50 centimeters. The price, the reserve price, is 5,000 Rand. And the reserve is, as I said, is 5,000 Rand. The proceeds go to Farmers Aid South Africa. And as far as postage is concerned, I will pay for the postage of the painting anywhere in the world, so you don't have to worry about postage. Just get your bids in, guys. This is a beautiful, beautiful painting. Okay, to place a bid, simply type painting and your bid in rands. They're about 18 Rand to the US dollar. And the starting bid, as I said, must be over 5,000 Rand. The new Big Five paintings, painted by South African artist Lynn Ward, will soon replace the Big Five composite image painted by Bonnie Hutt that you can see behind me in the videos. Let's have a quick look at those Big Five, the new Big Five that have been painted by Lynn. Okay, aren't they gorgeous? Now, let's move on. Tonight, we have several people joining us for a think tank and get to know each other session. Our main guest, Geben Jonker, will start the night by setting out his plans for Project Eden. And after I've asked him a few questions, I'm then going to invite the guests joining us to discuss Project Eden. Sorry guys, I'm just fighting with my crib sheet here. I'm just going to stick it over here. Okay, so after I've asked him a few questions, then the guests are going to ask him a few questions. And after that, the objective is to see how and where these organizations can work together going forward. Now, amongst our guests, we got Nikki Cruden. And Nikki runs an organization called Mother's Mission Retreats. And she says about this particular project that it has been one of the mothers of all missions. Obviously, she's had a lot of flack trying to get it going, but she's done a fantastic job. Nikki has over the years gathered highly skilled people to be part of the MMR committee. And Nikki will be joined by MMR chairman Fred Faber. Let's get that out of the way. Patrick told me earlier on that he's up to his eyeballs organizing things and getting ready for the Sutherland trip, so he won't be able to be on the whole time. He'll join us at about 9 p.m. Patrick runs a charity known as Farmers Aid South Africa, and the money raised from the winning bid on the elephant painting being auctioned tonight will go directly to his charity. Davi's cell phone and Wi-Fi can't handle Skype at the moment, but Davi said he will be in the side chat and he will be posing questions from there to Geben. Davi is a farmer situated at Bultfontein in the Free State. And finally, Marius Rus, who trains young white men in bushcraft, also has connectivity issues but will endeavor to join us from his farm. Okay, while I'm getting our guests on, I'll play a short video which reflects the reality of what is happening in South Africa today. Illegal land grabs by Africans. Minority groups need to form strong communities in rural areas to protect their land. The video shows a land grab taking place this week at Elandsfontein, just south of Johannesburg. The farmer has been taken to a place of safety, while the thugs are tonight trashing his farmhouse. Welcome to the new South Africa. Okay, let me put that up while I get my guests on.
Zodat julle kan sien. Hulle het almal bymekaar gekom om ons te keer om ons land terug te vat. Hulle illegally gekoop het.
Get the others on. Won't be a second, okay?
Hulle wil hulle shacks opset. Hulle het gedreig hulle gaan 150 shacks by vandag op hê. Hulle het my pa en Clinton gedreig. Hulle gesê hulle gaan ons skiet. Ons staan hier so reg. Ons het riot shields. SAPS is op pad. AfriForum is ook op pad. Hierso gaan ons 'n staan maak. Hulle gaan nie ons land vat nie. Hulle dreig, hulle wil die hele midwal, val driehoek oorneem vir hulle. En daar op die brug, soos wat jy kan sien, is daar nog op. Hulle toi en hulle het gedrink. Daar is alkohol betrokke aan hulle kant. Ons almal hier is nugter, behalwe die mense wat toi. Hulle het black labels en wat se naam gehad? Savannah. Hulle het gedreig om die karre te petrolbom. So ons staan reg vir uitbreek. Hulle het wapens. Daar is pangas, daar is byle, daar is stokke, grawe, harke en 'n saag betrokke. En 10-10-1 het hulle concealed firearms ook. Die is wat gebeur in ons land.
Hi Nikki.
Hi Scott.
Meet
Everybody.
Jy staan hulle daar by daai bankie. Kyk hoe dans hulle.
Nice to meet you.
I'm trying to get hold of Alfred. Can you just see if he's ready for my call? I'm just sending him another message now.
Looks like he is there.
Oh, there he is. You got him. Hi, Fred.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Good. I've just got one more person to join us, and then we'll get started. Fred, meet
Sodat julle kan sien. Hulle het almal bymekaar gekom.
Fred, nice to meet you.
Ons te keer om ons land terug te vat wat hulle illegally gekoop het.
Thank you
Hulle
guys
wil
for
hulle
joining
shacks
us.
opset. Hulle het gedreig hulle gaan 150 shacks by
Okay,
vandag
guys, I'm going
op
to
hê.
get us on. Here we go. All right. Okay. I've got 3 out of 4 on. I'm just trying to get Marius Roos on, but we'll just see. He said he might have connection problems. Right, let's get the show on the road. Okay. Good evening, all. The format tonight is as follows. Firstly, I will ask each of you to briefly introduce yourselves, your organization, and your role there. Now, seeing that Fred and Nikki come from the same organization, perhaps, Nikki, you could do the introduction on that. And Marius, you can just do a little bit of a personal introduction. Then after that, what we'll do is we'll get... Hang on a second, guys. Sorry. Hi, Marius again. Okay, so after we've done that, I'm going to then ask Geben to tell us a bit about himself and to outline what Project Eden is all about, before I ask him some questions about Project Eden. Okay, Nikki, starting with you, please tell us a bit about your organization, your position there, and what your organization does. Nikki?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us on your show tonight, Scott.
You're very welcome.
And Mother's Mission originally started as a community project on the South Coast, doing upliftment projects to help destitute people and also to help people generate an income. I personally think one of the solutions is to have a sort of a kibbutz system where the kibbutz sort of runs around an education system. So kibbutzes, I've never been to a kibbutz myself, but I don't believe it would work well in this country because of our culture. So we need to earn... we need to feel that we are worthy of earning something, not just being given things out. You don't respect things when you're given things for free.
Right.
So that's how it initially started. And then through your food drives and through your loving live streams, the Mother's Mission retreats sort of took momentum, and this is where we are now. So we've been looking for property for over a year now. We found quite a lot of problems with the properties. Either there's not enough water, or there's a problem with the transport or the road access. So it has been a bit of a challenge. So once we've got our land secured, we can start with putting up our project, which is self-sustainable, basically off the grid, a kibbutz system, ultimately around an education system.
Right. Now, you've got very skilled people in your organization, haven't you? And one of them is Fred. Fred, can I get you to come in at this stage and just introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, Scott, thank you very, very much. It is only through you that I met Nikki last year sometime, and we've taken off from there. And we've assembled, quite a few professional people in the various fields of expertise, and mine being electrical engineer, as well as a specialist in solar. So I've been under Nikki's wing for a while, and we've worked very, very well together. So it is now at a point where, we've created our constitution and a few other things that have given us a bit of traction. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, before getting Geben in to introduce himself and his background and then his project, because Geben is really the person we want to get to know tonight to see if we can get some synergy happening and expand the operation that you guys are working on. I'll ask Geben to tell us a bit about himself and to outline what Project Eden is all about before I ask him some questions about the project. I will then hand the floor over to the guests here to ask questions and share information with each other. We'll go around the room, so to speak, starting with Nikki, then Fred, and hopefully if Marius can join us, I'll try again a bit later, Marius as well. Patrick from Farmers Aid will be joining us at about 9 p.m. So he will be joining us later. So I'm going to hand the floor over now to I'm going to hand the floor over now to Geben. Geben, can you tell us a bit about yourself and about just a broad outline on the project?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm just a young boy born in Ottersdal, Wolmaranstad, northwest area. I studied land and property development and afterwards did also a degree in quantity surveying. I started my own business at quite a young age, and I mostly specialized eventually in asset management in the property and building industry. I've always had my family has always been in agriculture, and it's always had a special place in my heart. That's who I am. I've got 2 young children, and I'm just very concerned about their future at this stage, and the rest of my folk. So that's what Project eGen is. It's a vision at this stage, and the reason why I've come onto your program is to see that I can get the right skills involved so that we can truly make a success out of this project. The project is about self-sustainability, yes, but it's actually about creating a truly successful, good enterprise. It is about uplifting people out of poverty. It is about and fixing all the problems that we have in this country. It won't fix everything, but at least help to fix it. I mean, there's a lot of civil defense organizations struggling to get young people to get involved, and I believe if we can get the young people back onto the farms and give them opportunity, even, I mean, when I say young, you can be old as well. So it is for everyone, and it's about bringing community back into this communal enterprises back into the space. And with the technology that's currently coming out in the world, it's becoming a real possibility. It's becoming very manageable, and I believe we can actually change the way or set the standard for how it can be done in the future. So I don't come here to tell you I know everything about every aspect of farming. I don't, but what I do know about is running large-scale operations and various spaces and tracking and the performance of those assets and putting systems in place so that you can monitor them. And like I said, with the technology, there's wonderful opportunities that is coming available to us. And that's why, I decided I'm going to leave the building industry and rather focus on agriculture, where my folk come from. So that is in short what it is. We're going to try and make rural areas safer. We're going to try and I don't want to buy land. I think that's something that must be very, very, very carefully understood about this business model. We want farmers to make land available, become part, get ownership into the specific business in each area. We want investors from that town to actually come online and start investing in these projects, and with an expected profit on it. We're not be asking people to invest money and nothing comes back. We actually want the investors to make money out of it, the farmers to make money out of it, and we want to provide dignified jobs to people, and that's at the end of the day the goal here. And obviously part of that is to be able to defend ourselves, as you can see what's going on in this country. And I think we had a world-class army back in the day, something that my generation never had the privilege of seeing. We didn't have the privilege of going to Christian schools and all of these things, and I think it's something worthy to fight for our future to gain that. So Project Eden won't fix the country's problems, but I think it can fix a lot of people's problems and provide hope to a lot of people. But like I said, we are trying to be pioneers here. We don't want to create a business we want to create something that's truly, truly successful, and ultimately must also reduce the price of food. I think it's a very well-known fact that the agriculture industry, there's a lot of waste in the centralized processes that's been put in place. There's a very good story the old Boers will tell you about current billionaires who came to them way back then to stop supplying their products to the small local traders and to supply it to their public traded companies. And it's time we break down those systems and bypass those systems and create more efficient systems that can actually make us prosper again. And I think that is what Project Eden is about. It is really something that I am willing to give my life for. That in the short, I can talk the whole night about it. So that in short, I hopefully can give people the idea. But the important is we need skills, and we need people with the right skills, and we need people with the right heart. You know, you can have all the skills in the world. If your heart's not right, we don't want you to be part of this project, to be quite honest. We want people with the right intentions to be part of this. And we like I said in the teaser video, everybody must have shareholding. There's nobody is going to be employee here, and this is a cultural enterprise. I mean, if other cultures want to come and see what we do, they are welcome to do it, but I believe every culture must do that for themselves, and we are willing to share the information as we grow. So I'm not saying we're going to be operationally ready tomorrow, but we're going to work hard to get the first project off the ground. Even if nobody else believes in it, I believe it, and I will do my utter best to make it, to show people that the first project is going to work. So we won't be asking the general public for money until we've proven that we can do this. But that's ultimately what it's about, and the vision is to be, almost to have one of these plants, if you almost can call it, communities in each town in South Africa. I think that is the vision, and at the end of the day, when the proverbial hits the fan, then we have our own food. Because if you look at the Bolshevik revolution, ultimately the communists won because they got control of the food. And if you look at, if you really understand what land expropriation without compensation it's about, it's not about the land, because they don't know how to use the land. It is about getting control of the food, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right.
That's basically it. So.
Okay. Now, just a totally different subject. I just want to address those watching. We've got well over 400 people watching at the moment. The current bid on the elephant painting is 15,000 Rand. That's a steal, guys. That's a steal. Now, and please remember to put your questions in the side chat. Is Davy here yet? Has Davy joined the side chat? Please let me know when he does. Now, I want to get back to yourself, Geben. What people need to understand, those people watching this show right now, is that you aren't some guy who's just come up with an idea. You have run several incredibly successful businesses. You're a young man, but you've been successful at everything you've put your hand to. Clearly, you plan and you do things very carefully. Tell us a bit about what has made you successful in business, because I just see all the businesses that you're running. Just tell us a bit about that.
I think I was blessed with a talent for thinking very strategically, so I can look at a problem and quickly identify where the problem areas are, and then realign those processes into a more efficient system. I'm very good with numbers, and yeah, I have been successful, but I also ran into the BEE train, and I'm not complying to it, so I have lost a lot of business, but that's fine. And ultimately, I think I'm a very strategically minded person, and I'm actually very good at numbers. And I lost a lot of money last year investigating building information modeling and blockchain technology and everything, and we couldn't really get the market to accept it. But the beauty of it is, in hindsight, is that all those efforts we can also use for what we're planning for this project. So right. There's a lot of work that has been done on that side that will make this a lot easier. So I think that is basically it. It's very strategic thinking and problem solving I'm not trying to boast, but I think if I can honestly answer that is basically what it is. I also think, you cannot be successful if you don't know what skills are required to make something work. There's no person that's good at everything, so identifying the skill sets needed to implement a vision is very important. And that's basically it, if I can state it like that.
Well, you've just touched on the skill set, because I think one of the wonderful overlaps potentially between Project Eden and Mother's Mission Retreats is exactly that, because I know that Nikki has put together a team of highly skilled people who have skills in different areas, and I think this is something that we'll be talking about just now. What sort of skills are you specifically looking for as a starting point for Project Eden?
Okay, so maybe if I can just but clarify the thinking. So what we want to do is the first business that we want to create for the first, let's say, the test case for this vision, we want to actually let that organization become the association of all the businesses that will flow out of this, because we want each area to run itself in a decentralized manner. So we want to become the association for this, and be able so that nobody restarts all the processes and need to learn everything from the start. So the idea is that the association that's where the real serious skills will be, or going to be really needed, so that we can create procedures and SOPs and all these things, so that the next one and the next one becomes easier, and we can also build up a very good database of all these things. The skill sets is, I love to hear the gentleman here is in solo, because I'm not really interested in doing business with Eskom if I don't have to. So yes, we are
I can understand that.
if you put money in your enemy's pockets, you're gonna get a hiding, eh? So that's the idea here. So we're looking, I'm a very front and honest guy, and some people don't like that, but luckily the Boers has always been known to be like that. So we're definitely looking at taking off-grid solutions. I've got a very good friend that's also very architect, a lot of skill sets, and so ultimately it will be, we need agricultural economists, we need people that understand how a plant performs at its best. We need people that understands how water works. We're gonna have to have construction on site. We must give people houses to live in, and there are ways that we already thought of getting around all the approvals needed. We're gonna require logistics. We're gonna require people that understand IT, because IT is going to be very important what we're trying to achieve here. If you understand blockchain and these things, and the benefits that it can bring to the table. So there's a lot of skills, and I think obviously all the agricultural skill sets will be needed. I mean, if we get into a community and we see all these farmers are delivering their cows very far, then we might talk to the farmers in that area to start our own voerkraal. Sorry, I don't know what the English is for feeding or set, but so it's all about looking where we can add value. We don't want to compete with the existing farmers. We want to supplement them as far as possible.
Right.
But we also don't want a tomato to travel from one end of the country to another end of the country. If we can create a microclimate in an area where tomato doesn't necessarily grow, then that's what we need to do, because if you bypass all those supply chains, you will be paying off that added infrastructure. So there's a lot of skills that's going to be needed. We're going to obviously need tax lawyers will be important, so that we ensure we get our business structuring 100% right, and protect everyone in here. We're going to need CA or chartered accounting skills. We're going to need there's a lot of skills, and obviously we need security specialists, people that can train our people up how to use a gun, how to defend themselves, how to survive in the veld, if a town gets attacked, how to go protect that town, so that's a lot of skills that's going to be needed. I am busy drafting a white paper on this vision, because at this stage it's all that it is a vision, but I am drawing up a white paper on this, which will then bring all the skills together. But I was actually thinking about holding if I might call it like a indaba with skilled people that are really interested, so that we can start brainstorming these things. I'm a strategist, I'm not the technical guy. I must take everyone's technical analysis and details and start running game theory analysis and probability analysis, so that we can come to a business model that will beat the market. That's ultimately what we need to do. So there's a lot of skills required, and I'm going to need other people to also come to the table and say, but you haven't thought about this and this and this and this. So I want people to be critiquing this idea, so that we can identify all the problems, so that we can find solutions for them.
Right. Now, I can see that Nikki is champion at the bit when you were talking about skills. So we'll get to you in a second, Nikki. And the other thing is that, your association with Boer Legion is going to be, I think, very important as well, because, when you talk about security.
Yes.
And I have no doubt that Isaac will hear you out on that. Now, let's have a dig into the concept. Tell us about the funding shareholding side. How does that actually work? How does the business side of this actually work?
Okay, so I've already spoken to a lawyer that I'm waiting on feedback, but I'm going to keep saying the word vision so that people understand nothing has been decided to the fullest extent yet. So the vision is currently, my understanding of the laws, you can have 51 shareholders in a company. That keeps it private. The moment you have more than that, you become an open public company, and that's not what we want. So we're going to have 51 shareholders, and depending on the feasibility, that shareholding will be divided between the landowner, the guys who's funding the infrastructure, and the people who is working on the farm themselves, and as well then a very small shareholding to the association, to make sure that we can continue supporting all the various communities. How we will run that is ultimately not from the start, but ultimately we will connect all these things onto the blockchain, and whenever there's income, that income will be distributed directly through the blockchain, where nobody can steal anybody's money. And that is the idea behind that, if that answered your question, sir.
Right. Okay. Now, it's interesting. I just want to go back to when you talked about skills, and you're seeking all these different people. If you want to give me a list of the people, once you've actually got this ready, we can then do a video on that as well. Because there are a lot of white people who've been impacted by black economic empowerment, who are still very, very willing to work and be part of projects like this. So we need to just find those people in South Africa and get them involved. So that's just one area that strategically you obviously need to look at. Okay, now let's talk about food security, that aspect of the project. Tell us about that.
Yeah, okay. So the food security, I think we have to talk about communism if we have to for me to answer that question. So it's very clear for me. I studied the Bolshevik Revolution and what happened in Russia, and it's very clear to me the strategy of our government is a Leninist strategy, and the thing is everything is geared against getting control of the food. And if we leave this to the farmers, I'm afraid they're getting less by the day and more despondent by the day. We cannot leave this in the farmers' hands. We as their brothers and sisters must get involved in this fight, because if I can guarantee you this, if we lose control of the food situation, then you will see communism to its full effect in this country. And every decision this government make, from a strategic perspective that can analyze and look at what they're doing and running various scenarios, it's very, very clear what they're trying to achieve here, and that is as to get control of the food. I mean, the government statistics themselves show that 90% of their own farms are a failure. So do you really think they want to take the land for any other reason than to stop the means of production of the food system and make us dependent on other countries' food? And that's something that we cannot allow in this country, and that's very important aspect of this, is to protect food. Even in a time where we get into a time of real unrest, you can think for yourself, if there's a farm with food close by where you can go, where there is already security have been taken into account, there's already people that's forming part of with the farmers, securing the broader range. So when I'm saying the people must help the farmers, they must actually, when they go live on these farms, after they've been trained, they must be forming part of the security of that area, doing patrols with the farmers, and that's not only the farmland they live on. So yeah, for me, food security, we need to protect our food sources and make sure that food doesn't need to travel 100 kilometers from where it's being produced. I think that's very important for us in this battle.
Right. Now, I've just got a comment from Davi Oosthuizen, who can't join us live because of bandwidth problems, but he said, he says there are about 25 farms just in our district are farmers to farm over 70,000 hectares of the top agricultural land in South Africa. Now, you know Patrick, who will be joining us in about half an hour's time. Now, Patrick and Davi are like brothers, and you know, they really are. And I think the farmers in Bultfontein, after what happened just the last couple of days at Elandsfontein, where this farm has now been occupied by hundreds of blacks just taking over the land, I think the farmers in Bultfontein will be watching this very closely and be thinking, my gosh, wouldn't it be great to have a small white community on our farm to act as as you say, a security force, as someone to defend that farm from invasion. So I think the timing of this is critical. Now let's just go keep on going with your project Eden. Creating jobs. What sort of jobs would you be creating under this project? What sort of areas?
Okay. You see, sir, this will grow, but let's start at a base. So, say for instance, we live in an area like Bultfontein where there's not large vegetable farming going on, and if that is not the case, then I apologize, but I normally see maize and cattle in that area. So, and those types of things. So, think about this. There's not enough water there to sustain agriculture, that vegetable farming. So then what we would do is we would put infrastructure on a guy's farm that creates a microclimate, and we will start producing food that's not normally produced on there. And we actually want to then, that facility, the people that come, and we shouldn't call it a job, although any work is a job, but they will be working for themselves to a certain degree, at least. And then they will be running almost like a plant, where they will be trained up how to run that facility, how to take the seed into a growing house, and from there into where sorry, my English gets lost sometimes, okay. But to take it, to almost manage a plant, then it becomes almost like high intensive farming, you know. So it's going to depend on the area, what is produced in that area, what's not produced in the area, and what can we do with the technology available to produce that food. I think that's ultimately the idea. So it might vary, you know. It might be there might be various circumstances and various jobs. It's going to depend on the area and what that area can produce, and how we can supplement the food sources in that area. So we almost want, you know, each area to almost become self-sustainable in how we produce it. If you look at the Netherlands and how they produce foods, there's a lot of great examples there. There's also some in Israel and these places. But I believe we have the best farmers in the world. So all we need to do is to get the farmers involved and the right skill sets, and we will find ways to beat the market within that system. But the idea is that we're not going to buy, if I have to now go buy farms the whole country wide, we're going to just be spending money on land. So we want a farmer to say, come to our area, form part of this, let's look what can we put up here and increase the income of that area. So that's the idea. I don't think it's a set idea. It might grow into that if that's the best solution, but I truly believe that it will be the area dependent and how we can supplement that area, and that will determine the work that's going to come out of it. But there will be plants where I assume an old lady will be able to run almost the whole plant, except for when it comes to harvesting or stuff like that, and that's how we will then distribute people according to what they can do in different areas and so forth, you know. And the idea is to become the first truly national fourth industrial farmers, and that's why that's what we want to do. We don't want to be amateurs. We really want to create a first world standard business that and people will need to be trained. So that's why skills and upfront planning and work is going to be important.
Right. Now I'm just going to see if I can get Marius Roos on. I would like him to join us because he could do a tremendous amount with the security area because of his skill set and stuff like that. So if he can join us, I'm just trying again. If I can't get him, we'll leave it. He's obviously in a bad reception area. Now, another question. Decentralization, according to you, is the future. Why do you say that?
Okay. Yeah, this is a subject that I can speak all week on. Okay, so decentralization is taking the power out of a central authority. You know, if you, I don't want to talk about COVID at all tonight, but if I can say one thing is that is the product of centralization. The response has been because of centralization. So decentralization is where, if you look at Switzerland almost as a governing system, to showcase the idea to people, is where, you know, as far as I understand, you're not allowed to sell something in a shop that can be produced locally, and that's decentralization. And there's a lot of ways. You can look at it from a political perspective, you can look from it at a money perspective. Bitcoin is a decentralized currency, and you know, there's a lot of people that's against Bitcoin and, you know, all these things, but if people really truly realize the potential that lies in decentralized currencies and how we can take control of our lives. I mean, you know, they say Bitcoin is a scam. Now just look at what's happening to Iran, and then you ask yourself, what is the scam here? You know, there's a lot of things that can be done. We live in a society that the academics call a manufactured trust. So I go to Spar, I don't know if that food has been through the process they say it's been. I have built a trust towards that brand, so now I accept that they've done what they should be doing. Whereas a trustless society is, you don't need that trust. You can go verify through technology exactly what happened to that thing, and the technology is coming online actually this year. There's a company called Cardano which has done brilliant work in creating a decentralized system that can manage everything from supply chain every way through. So if you think about it, if there's seed in one area of a building and you go through a sensor and that seed moves, and say you have a process flow where you get a plant from a seed to harvesting. So now what you do is you go take that process flow, you create that process flow, and you track then through technology exactly what happens through that process. Suddenly you have a lot less middlemen. You can deliver straight to people's homes. It's just wonderful what this technology can do. I will probably be able to express myself a lot better in Afrikaans, but it's a wonderful thing, decentralization. It's where you create a trustless society that people don't need to, there's no manufactured trust, there's proven trust. And it's also taking the power away from government. I think in all senses, whether it's a good government or a bad government, doesn't matter. That is what decentralization is. What is the best way for me to explain it? I mean, think about this. So if you take Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin, there's a limited supply. Nobody can manipulate it. It's virtually impossible to manipulate the supply of Bitcoin. Well, if you look at what's happening in America, there's memes, they say money go brrr, because they just print money, and whether the guy who's been saving his whole life, his money is now less worth because they just print money and doing what they want. And that's why I wanted to say the COVID thing, because that shows the COVID thing for me is nothing other than there is a virus, I'm 100% believe it, but the panic that's been caused is just to mask the failure of the fiat system. So people need to realize that's what this is about. They've stuffed up the system and they know it's broken, and they've now creating this panic to blame it on the virus. And that's why you see it's a worldwide thing, because all the governments, you know, show me what countries doesn't have a central bank. those are the ones being under attack currently in the world. You can actually see the last ones left that doesn't have a central authority. You know, John F. Kennedy wanted to disband the legal rights of the central bank in America. Look what happened to him. Or there's rumors that the same thing R.F. Verwoerd was trying to do in the 60s, and he got assassinated. So, you know, central authority creates power for a very few people. Decentralization puts the power back in people that work for that power, if that makes sense. So this idea of the world where you just get things because you are, that's ridiculous. You get things because you work for it. And I think decentralization will bring us back to that reality.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask our guests to start firing some questions at Geben. And I'm going to start with you, Nikki. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that you would like to talk to Geben about. I see your mic is off at the moment. If you just want to get your mic on there, Nikki. There you go. Okay, over to you, Nikki.
Thank you, Scott. And Eben, yes, it sounds like you need to join the Mother's Mission Committee. You're just duplicating work already done. And our committee is very active. We chat almost every night of the week, I must say. And one of the topics that we've been discussing just in the last week is perhaps how to contact the farmers. So one can't just send a group of people to a farm and even if it was temporary or movable homes, invariably the farmer isn't able to supply food for the people. So the food source has to be secure and the water source has to be secure. So from there on, we can set up sewage systems and hydro systems, solar panels, etc. So the story is, I think the priority is the land first. So once we've got the land, we can actually make, more detailed plans. As far as the food security is concerned, you've hit it on the nail. Almost every topic you've discussed. But, we often joke money does grow on trees. So you just have to grow the right trees. And this is the problem, trees take years before they start producing. So to move on to a farm for a few years isn't viable. One needs some sort of long-term security. Especially your fruit trees, you could be waiting 5-10 years before you start having a production. And as I've always said, you've got to plant the nut trees for the next generation's wealth. So that's nearly a decade of waiting.
Great.
And we've got some very clever people in our group. We could literally grow a food forest in the desert. So we just need the land. And obviously enough dead leaves, and we can bring the dead back to life.
I should
the question is, how do we find the right farms?
I should say, just quickly, Geben, that Nikki is probably one of the most experienced people when it comes to natural foods and herbs and stuff like that. Her knowledge in that area is quite extraordinary. Some organic type foods, as she mentioned, the hydroponics and stuff like this. This woman is an expert. Over to you, Geben.
Okay, so how do we find the land? That is something, we're going to have to go talk to the farmers. There's farmers listening tonight. So what we will do is, I think we will work through the unions, not at the top, because I don't trust, like I said, centralized. So we will go down to, say, the agricultural unit of Bultfontein, and we will go discuss our plans, and then we will talk to the farmers and make them understand everything that we're trying to achieve. And ultimately, if no one wants to be involved, I literally cannot believe that. These are my people. I understand them, and you just need to, they're very skeptical, and they can make you feel you don't know what you're trying to do there, but if you can break through that and show them, that's why I'm saying we should find one farmer and show that we can create one viable business within this context, then I think once we've done that, then you'll get the farmers to support this really. And to be honest, there's no better time at the moment than to start this initiative. The window of opportunity for me is there, and I think people are starting to wake up. Even some of my very liberal friends are starting to doubt certain things. And when I'm saying liberal, that a lot of my generation that's been indoctrinated into the education and the whole society and media and all this, but they are starting to wake up. And I think what I'm trying to say by that is I think we will find farmers. We just need to come with a proper business plan and have all our ducks in a row and show to them viably what we want to do. And at the end we need one farmer to say, come, let our be the test case. I've looked at, there's a beautiful farm in Mossel Bay in the rural areas in the mountain. That farm was in the market for 25 million rand a couple of years back, and it's still on the market now for 10 million. So it shows you there's something wrong. And I think a lot of farmers have suffered financially through the drought and through all the things we've all suffered in this country. So to be quite honest, if there's not one boer out there that's willing to come online and say, I am the test case, then I don't know what we're fighting in any case for.
Okay, Davies just said in the side chat, just stay away from Vrystaat, landbou and grain, as they are useless.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, you heard it from the horse's mouth. Sorry, carry on, Kevin.
Yeah, but what I meant by that is, when I used to be on the farm, there's more subcommittees for each town, and we need to go to those subcommittees where the actual farmer is. Look, there's always going to be problems. You must, my eyes opened the first time I went to Blood River and I saw where the wagons went through. There's no way in my mind that I can go through there with men. They went there with old men, women. That truly is, that's why I'm saying anything can be done. We just need to do it.
Right, now, Ray first has asked a very pertinent question. I'd just like to pose to you, Kevin, because you're the expert on companies and stuff like that. Now, I think the argument for setting up a company is that if you have a company, expropriation without compensation is not, they can't do it, or there's some reason why, but I'd like you to explain that. I think it might have to do with overseas companies owning land and stuff like that. But his question is as follows. Please ask Geben, what happens if and when the government takes the farm, and also what happens when the government changes the law to have a majority percentage ownership in a company? What's the situation under those scenarios?
Okay, so I'm not a legal expert, but I'm gonna, as a leek on the subject, I will give advice. So from my perspective, whenever something goes to a court, if there's the more parties that are negatively affected by something, the more legal grounds you have. I think that is a very common knowledge. So I think the more people that will be affected by expropriation, the more defendable it will become legally. But outside that, I don't like to talk about these things online, but we will probably then defend our lives with it. What other options do we have? If they take the farmer's land, why do you think they won't come for your home and your pension and everything else? So that's when we're on war. So I don't know how best to answer that.
Right.
But then we have people trained up to fight that fight.
Right. Now, Fred, I'm going to hand over to you to put a question to Kevin. Fred, your mic's off. There you are. Now you're on.
Okay. Yeah, even I think it's phenomenal to hear, how far you've given the thought of Internet of Things into agriculture, which is exciting, for a person that has a fundamental understanding of agriculture. So there's a lot of things that you have discussed that we have already done, prepared ourselves for MMR. So we understand how to assist, on the farm and bring on the right persons for that particular scenario, for that particular type of farming.
Okay.
I have the experience of knowing why did 50 successful farms that I visited north of Limpopo, why did they survive and everybody did not survive? And, how we are going to go into that area in our future, and some of it is, like you say, we can't discuss online, but there are definitely things that you create in your environment that allows you to survive under those harsh conditions. So it's happened to them in the north and some very, very successful farms. In fact, one of the farms I visited has 1,500 employees. So,
Wow.
So if 1,500 people report in the morning, you know that you've got a very serious organization. Sorry that I'm
Correct.
not asking a particular question, because I think a lot of the things that you've already discussed, we are already in that process. What we haven't taken into in depth is the Internet of Things, but the Internet of Things could also work for agricultural implements, because there's going to be a lot of agricultural implements going to be assembled in blocks all over the country, because we can't survive as a 74-year-old mother, with a child on a farm anymore. So the whole business of farming has to change, and we have to become defensive more than offensive. And some of the organizations are going to the offensive. And listening to you, you're absolutely right. Once we lose control on the food, we've lost any fight that we may have had. So when we look at a farm, is the operation going to be safe? Is it going to be safe to do that investment? Invest that time and money, not so much the money, but it's our time, because we have short time and we've got to be successful in that time. So
100%.
I kind of like the idea where we do sit around the table and, thrash out all these different ideas. And I think we're going to learn a lot from each other.
No, 100%. And it's great to hear that there's like-minded people out there. There's wonderful, not if you look at building information modeling, what it allows in the building industry is we can actually manage a building. This wall knows it's a wall. It knows what paint it got on. It knows its maintenance regime. It's known what its inset cost is, what its maintenance cost is. So through that technology, we can actually build in all the characteristics of anything. It doesn't need to be a building. It can be a plant and a process. So there's wonderful possibilities that we can do, even if we don't have the internet to implement the full IoT solution. There's wonderful things we can build in how we prepare ourselves to manage a business. Let me put it that. So yeah, there's brilliant opportunities, and we just need the right people to come together to make it work. Okay. Even for existing farmers, we can actually improve existing farmers' business, not by knowing what they're knowing, but just adding value to what they're doing already.
Right.
It's very exciting.
I see that Patrick is in the side chat. So Patrick, I'm going to invite you into the discussion. You're going to be meeting Patrick shortly, aren't you, Geben?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, let me just get Patrick. Patrick, I'm going to invite you in right now to come and join the conversation.
I'm just going to refill my water if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, please go ahead. Are you there, Nikki? I just see your little icon.
I am here, Scott.
Okay, fantastic.
Can you see me now?
I can see your chair. Oh, Patrick's just joined us. Cool. I
think that's Geben's.
Hi, Patrick.
Seeing.
Hi, Scott and everyone.
How are you going, buddy?
Busy and tired.
You've been preparing for that trip, haven't you? Now, Patrick, the painting that we're selling tonight, the elephant the elephant painting. So far, we've raised 16,000 rand. That's 16,000 rand. I think that's the current bid on it. So that's going to come your way. So, congrats. Now, I just want to introduce you to our guests. I just want to introduce you to our guests that we've got here. We've got Geben Jonker,
Hi, Patrick.
is setting up. Now, what's happened here? Nikki's.
Hey, Geben.
How are you?
Very, very well.
That's good to hear.
And then we got Fred Faber. He's from Mother Missions.
Hi, Fred.
And Nikki as well, of course. Nikki, do you want to say hi to Patrick? You've got your mic. There you are.
Hi, Patrick. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, been busy.
Okay.
You are a busybody.
Now, I'll just brief you on what we're talking about, Patrick. We're talking about the idea of setting up communities on farms, and Geben has got a project that he's setting up called Project Eden, and I think you're going to be meeting Geben in the next. I'm not sure when it is, but you're going to be meeting him shortly. Is there something you'd like to ask Geben?
Geben phoned me a few days ago, and I spoke to him. He gave me a brief of what he is planning on doing, and I said, listen, why don't we meet at Sutherland when we're there, because the key role players of the farmers that I want them to meet will be there at Sutherland when we go, and then we can speak to everybody in one thing. So so we said let's just leave everything until we get to Sutherland, and we'll discuss there face to face with everyone.
Right.
What happened?
Geben, we can hear you, Nikki, but I can only see it looks like a palm of a hand or something like that in your icon, but we can hear you. That's the main thing. Now, Geben, do you just want to respond to Patrick?
Yeah, I can't wait to meet Patrick and Davi. They're doing a lot of good work for our people, and I would really like to get them involved. And I think charity is something we haven't mentioned, and it's something that's close to my heart. I think so you would know that. And one thing that I think is very important is that once we get into a place where this business, and this is not going to be day one, but gets to a place where it'll be very sustainable and profitable and everything, that whatever I'm going to be involved with, the 10th of that will go to charity, and that's going to be very important. And now I've got there's something that's I don't want to talk about maybe tonight, but maybe I must just mention it so people can start thinking about this. I come from a Boer family, and I understand the Boer's plight, and I understand that the people in the towns also have a lot of problems. But there's something that we tend to forget, and that's our children going to state orphanages. I don't think people realize the horror those people go through. And whatever charity goes out from this, we want to get those people out of the state's hands back into the folks' hands, because I think, a lot of people might get angry at me, but I think that's our folks' biggest sin. And I say it's a sin, it's a horrible sin. I have been to places where a lady runs a state orphanage, and her husband has been convicted of raping children. That's your government for you, I've seen places where the caterer serves fraught food to the kids, gets paid 3 times the money that he should be getting paid. So what I'm saying is we need to get our kids out of the communists' hands, because that is something that makes me cry. And if I have to die tonight, my children have to go to an orphanage. I don't know what. That's almost too horrible thought to think about.
Right. Okay, now I'm going to
Yeah.
go around the table again, so to speak. Over to you, Nikki. Is there something you'd like to ask Geben? Or Geben, is there something you'd like to ask any one of the three guests that we have here?
Not really, Uncle Scott. I think the only thing I can ask is let's get together and let's start brainstorming and see how we can assist each other and then find
Fantastic.
common ground as soon as possible. I mean, it's very clear that we're talking to a lot of knowledgeable people. I mean, I know Patrick's heart is in gold, so it's just to make sure that we're all coming from the right space and creating this. And I believe that you have facilitated something wonderful here, sir. So thank you very much for that. I don't really have questions. I think that is more offline, and once we found that middle ground, then we can come back and lay out the fundamentals of everything.
Fantastic. Look, the Loving Life channel, we have a lot of live streams, and we meet some extraordinary people like Nikki and Patrick, who I've had on before. Fred's the first time we've had Fred on our channel, but it's absolute delight to have him as the chairman of MMR joining us. Now, Nikki, I'm going to hand over to you. Is there a question you'd like to pose to Geben?
Thank you so much, Scott. Well, the most important question is how will we brainstorm getting the right property? So I firmly believe build it and the people will come. So I'm quite convinced that we won't have a problem getting the people. We just need to provide the space. People don't want to buy into a dream. They want to buy into something that's real.
100%.
And just looking at our destitution camps around the country, and there's so many of them, almost a third of our white population are living in destitution camps, and a lot of them have got food gardens going. But it really takes the full team. Everybody needs to get involved, as you were saying. You need a diversified amount of food. You can't just live off of mealie meal. You need to have a variety. So ideally you want to have a number of farms, because different farms will have different, variety of foods and fruits and trees and stuff. So once we've got that set up, we can trade between ourselves and share food. But definitely the way the government's going with monocrop farming and all this Monsanto poisons into the soil, it's not looking good for the future. So we need to take control of it ourselves. And right now our biggest question is, how do we find the right land? And people don't want to buy farms because it's, the chance of having it expropriated is very strong. And then, of course, once you've got the land, you need to develop it, and there's going to be a lot of financial costs with that as well.
Okay, so like I said before, we're not going to buy land. That's not going to happen. It won't allow the business model, the feasibility. So I agree with you. There's going to be a lot of farms, and we might not have more than 5-6 families per farm. Like I said, it has to supplement the existing agriculture in the area. And I think, yes, we want to feed people, that's 100%. But think about this, everyone goes to Spar to buy tomatoes, this. That price of that tomato has 4 other tomatoes, or I'm saying a quarter of a tomato per tomato that gets wasted through that process. Plus the profit of all the various companies involved. What we're saying is we want to, and I love the idea that I'm fully for self-sustainability, and getting away from pesticides and all of these as far as possible. So what we ultimately want is we want to deliver food directly to person's door, almost like have an order. If you can, not for every unit it will be like this, and you would know that very well. But for the units that you can actually deliver to the people's door what they used to buy at Spar, and knowing exactly where it came from, would it produced, and if you have shareholding in that farm, why wouldn't you do it? And ultimately, I am willing to do the first one. I'm willing to to make sure that that funding is available. We need a farmer that says, look, I want shares in this thing, I'm willing to give you this portion of land. And then we must see what is the possibility within the farm, the region, and the area, and bring all these fundamentals together into a business model. And then only will we be able to decide exactly how it's going to work. Because, like I said, we want people to make a living of this. We don't want, or from my perspective at least, I don't think it should be something that doesn't add to the economy. It must be something that adds to the economy. So I will, always I put that responsibility on myself in finding the first farm and getting the finance in place for whatever is going to be financially viable. And if nobody else after that is interested in it, then at least I've started a business and for myself and got myself out of city. So that's the idea, So I will do that portion and I'll get that farmer and I'll make sure that there's funding for it.
Now, just a related question that Bruce Basters has asked. He says, is Geben's business proposal going to be for profit for him, or is everyone involved going to be an equal shareholder like a co-op?
Okay, I can easily answer that. That's what decentralization means. So let me answer that. Okay, easy. The fact is, if the business model tell us that the farmer's land is adding so much value, we will give him that percentage of share ownership. If the investors have put in so much money, they will get the proportional value that they're putting into it as shareholding, and the same for the people working on the farm. So that's the idea. So it will be, that's why financial modeling, I don't know if people out there are really know the concept, but financial modeling is something that I specialize in, and that's where we will run models until we find that optimized model where the farmer, it makes sense for him to give his land, where the investor makes sense for him to become invested in this, and it makes sense for the person that's going to do the work. Before we haven't met all three criteria, that will not happen. And then what we will do is then, here's the business model, which then becomes almost like a target financially. And then everyone, as the income comes in, that money each time gets distributed according to that shareholdership. So there's nobody that's going to be able to manipulate costs or anything to gain profit out of this. Am I doing this to sustain myself? Look, I've got a family. I don't have enough money to necessarily say I can now just never have to work again and just do this myself. So yes, I think everyone that gets involved with the association to a certain degree will make this their lives as this grow. But nobody's getting paid until there's value. That is something I believed in. Every business that I've started, my motto is, and I can only best say it in Afrikaans, fok eerder jou eie huis op vir die ander ou se huis op fok. So we will prove it. Sorry for the toll, but we will prove.
That's okay.
We will prove that we can do it ourselves and it's sustainable. We're not going to make problems for anyone else. So there's ultimately, I can take all of this and I can just do it myself and become a very rich man and do what the previous generations did. This is not the idea. The idea is for everyone to have dignity and make their own living. Ultimately, if we run a business model and the only one who benefits from it is the shareholder, then we will not do it, because then it doesn't meet all three criteria. So the criteria is that all three components must be making profit out of this, and that's the farmer, the investor, and the guy who's becoming the new farmer within that context, if that makes sense. And I do apologize, I could have used better words, but I think that tells people what I mean.
Right.
Apologies for the curse word, I shouldn't have done that.
Brad, is there a question you'd like to put to Geben?
Yeah, it sounds, we have good potential, and, we can add value in certain areas, and we can also learn, as I said earlier on, we can learn from each other. And, to identify where the market is, because you want to go from source to market as quick as possible. And
correct.
The operation, depending on the area that you live in and where you operate in, food will be essential, irrespective. It doesn't matter what you produce, whether you produce a chicken, a pig, a pint of milk, or some vegetables. It's just a matter of, like you say, how do we do it?
Correct.
Sorry, I don't have questions because I'm fully aligned. I mean, there's nothing I can, to your question. I understand fully. I understand fully what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah,
You want to respond there, Geben?
No. Yes, I want to. Sir, we're starting at agriculture, but nothing is preventing anyone else in any other industry to start doing the same. We need to create a microeconomy in this country that rids ourselves and from our government overlords. So, this thing can grow into such a beautiful thing if we do it right. Think about this. If you have an area, let's take pick a town. Everyone renovates their houses. We can eventually train our people how to be doing labor work again. I think that's a big mistake we made in the past, and we can never make it again. There's so much skills that we can add to our people that they can, if they renovate, get teams from the farm that's been trained up. We can get him, if AfriForum and these guys of Soltech really wants to make a difference, they can come to the party and even train people further. Not everyone's passion might be to be in agriculture. It might just be a way to get a guy up until his feet, make a successful business, sell his share to somebody that wants to live on the farm and do that work and become a plumber or electrician. So this thing can really grow into a lot further than just the agriculture and security component. There's so many people with so many talents out there that's just going to waste at the moment, and it's so sad. And so there's a lot of ways. This can apply to almost every industry in this country, and my message to people is, if you continue with your, everyone blames government for BEE. It is us that keeps the system going, no one else. If all of us stop complying to this nonsense, the system falls down overnight. But unfortunately, I can get a lot of ideological discussion, but that's something that gets me a very hot on the collar. We are perpetuating our own demise, if I might call it that, and we need to stop doing that. Our forefathers didn't build this country by having it easy, and we shouldn't be expecting to fixing this having it easy. But somebody's got to need to do the dirty work for the next generation to have a better life, if I can respond in that way.
Now, Bruce Basters has asked a really relevant question here. How does a poor white who might be living in a squatter camp with very few skills get involved and actually profit and not just be cheap labor?
Okay, I think I've answered this many times. So we don't want people to have cheap labor. If they can't have a dignified life, then the business model don't work, then we don't do it. But that's, I think, why I phoned Patrick, is that we need people working with our despondent communities to bring the right people to the table. And that's why we want to work with Farmers Aid and any other charity like the Transvaal Boere. I think the guy's name is Leon or Louis or something. We need to involve the charities, so because they work with the people on the ground. So charities is going to be very important to support this initiative, so that they can bring the people to us, and that's why charities will be very important for us to make this work. Guys like Patrick has met a lot of people, and he's seen people doing a lot of things, and he would know which people to send to us, and that's ultimately the idea.
Right. Now, Patrick, would you like to respond to that?
God, yeah, sure. That all that stuff that Geben is speaking about is stuff that we will discuss once we are in Sutherland. I think I mentioned it briefly to him, that there is a lot of skills within the squatter camps. People think it's just uneducated people that ends up in squatter camps, which it's not. There's lawyers, there's mechanics, bookkeepers, all sorts there with a lot of skills that is just going to waste. And we've got the, we've got the people that we can use from the squatter camps and get them out of that situation into a better situation. And that's everything that we're going to discuss with Geben once we are in face to face.
Right. Okay. Geben, do you want to respond to that, or should we move to the next question?
No, I think we can move on, Uncle, if you don't mind.
Okay, not a problem. Let me just move this painting around, because it's just got to change its position quickly. There we go. All right, just put it up for a second. Now remember, guys, this painting, it's currently got a bid of 16,000 Rand on it. All the money is going to Patrick's charity, Farmers Aid South Africa. Please don't miss out. This is an absolutely gorgeous painting by Bonnie Hutt. Okay, let's continue. Now, Property Power has asked, what will happen to a family at retirement age? Will they build a new home for the next family, or must they move?
Well, that's a very good question. That's something we will need to think about, Uncle. So, I haven't thought about that. That is obviously something that we need to think about. Yeah, but that's a very good question, and thanks for bringing it up. Now we can think about it.
Okay, Nikki, over to you. Any questions you'd like to ask Geben? By the way, I'll be putting you guys in touch with each other, obviously, so you can just continue the conversation privately and get things moving. Over to you, Nikki.
Thank you, Scott. No questions for Evan, but a lot of answers actually. Yeah, we've thought of the answers to most of these questions you've asked now. First of all, you can't take people, no matter how qualified they are, out of any area and put them onto a farm and expect them to work. So no matter what skills they have, even if it's in the field that you dedicate them to, you do still need training. So we like to refer to it as an induction course. And there'll be lots of induction courses. So as I mentioned, the farm needs to be run around an education system. So just like at school, you graduate when you've achieved your objectives to the next level. So the induction course should work on a similar concept. So there's lots of various fields. You could go into permaculture, fishery, looking after chickens, sewing, home industry, lots of different skills that South Africans are very talented and good at. We're also very creative, artistic culture, or nation rather, so the opportunities are endless. So yeah, as I say, build it and the people will come. So are we going to find some empty farms and start squatting, or shall we find some national property, national heritage property? Yeah. The question is, what land can we establish ourselves on? Because once we start the first project, it'll domino effect.
Yeah, I think this is a question we should be posing to Davy. If Davy's in the side chat, because he's a farmer in Bultfontein, highly respected fellow. I'm sure that he'll be able to help with that identification of the relevant land. And I know that Geben is going to be meeting Davy. So, they'll have a chance to sit down about that. But over to you, Geben. Do you have any comment to make on what Nikki raised?
No, I 100% agree. I think I, from the start, said we're going to have to train the people, and that's why, that's where the technology yet again comes in. If you realize that for the technology, and I'm just going to refer back to the industry I'm currently working at, you can literally design a process flow where the whole process of how a building is built is done through that technology, and you can do the same for training processes, showing people exactly through a digitized manner, and you can digitize the whole training process, which will then also add the visualizing effect and make the impact per trainer much wider. And then you can also create systems to make sure that when they do stuff that it fits into the SOP without having a lot of too much, how can I say, people watching over the people. Now, this might not be the way it starts for the first couple of, because you need a roll-on effect to create profits to add that technology layer to your business. But I 100% agree with Nikki. Training is paramount. Nobody can expect to drop somebody on a farm and just expect them to farm. I think it's there's a lot of planning going behind that, and that's why I keep talking about the association. That's going to be the key. We want to become the association so that the next one doesn't need to start from scratch, except for the training portion of the people. And as we build this out, the knowledge base will just become bigger and bigger and bigger, and you will start running into duplications as this thing grows. But I fully agree with Nikki. I think they've got a lot of good ideas, and I think there's a lot of ways that we can add value to each other.
I think of the Amish people in the US, in Philadelphia. They have these amazing communities on these farms, and that's basically like a similar sort of model to what you're talking about, where you've got these communities, and their value system is so different to the rest of the US. I mean, they are so religious, and they keep their act together, whereas the rest of the US is falling apart. So the system will work. There's no question about that. Now, Fred, over to you. Is there something you'd like to ask Geben? I know you said you were much in agreement, but just in case there is.
Yeah, so it is, is it possible that we clearly understand that we're going to fit a farmer's needs, or are we going to fit a working model? So really we need that, the farmer to be a buy-in on the situation, and to maybe start off that fits his needs. In other words, I know of a farmer, let's say the father and the son, and the one protects the farm during the day and the other one protects the farm at night, and no farming gets done. So, as you said earlier, maybe, it is hard to fill that gap. And a skills matrix of the people that are sitting in people's back gardens, at the moment, will gladly jump to that opportunity. So that's all I wanted to say. Is it going to be fitting what the farmer needs, or the other way around?
Well, I think depending on the situation, it can actually be both. And it depends on what the farmer also wants. Ultimately, like I said, where the business model beats the market, we need to keep that very carefully in mind. If you take away all the social and cultural and all these other things away from it, we must have a very solid business model. And the window of opportunity is there. If you look at the waste in the system that we can beat and actually make great profits of beating that system, so what I'm proposing is yes, a lot of helping the farmer with the security, but also creating a unique new business that can add a lot of value. So if I have to do it only for myself and only for making a lot of money, then I would still do this, and I think I can there's a lot of money to be made by employing the technology with the right skills and beating the waste process. So and improving on the efficiency of the whole logistics behind it. The farmer does all the work to get the food up there, but people don't realize the massive amount of work from there to get it into a spar and all of these things. So we want to beat that processes as well. So that's why I say there's a lot of spin-off businesses that will, when we reach a point, a massing point in this space, then I can guarantee you we all will start looking at processing food and adding all of those different components of delivering food to the general public, add that onto our business model. So that's where I see the opportunity, the window of opportunity in the agricultural business. It's about coupling that business with all the other problems that we face. Now, So it's a bit of both, but I think we should never lose the window of opportunity that there is. And I will say it again: decentralization is so that everyone that forms part of this thing will then become beneficiaries of that profits. That's going to be very important. And ultimately each one of there's a lot of brainstorming that's going to be needed to be done, but that's the vision, I think. And I can clearly see the business opportunity, so why not give that business opportunity to the people? And I know that in South Africa that's a dangerous thing to say, but I think that's why it needs to be a cultural enterprise. And like I said, if other cultural groups wants to do the same, I'm willing to give them everything, but they need to do it for themselves.
Now, there are quite a few people who are asking for your email, Geben, so I'm going to say to them, look, send me an email, homestays@gmail.com, and just in a short paragraph say exactly why you would like to speak to Geben. If you've got skills or something like that, just say so, whatever it is, and then I will forward your email to Geben, and then it's up to him whether he wants to take it further directly with you. But that's basically the process we go through. All right, now, Patrick, is there any questions you'd like to? Are you having a beer, Patrick?
I wish. No caffeine, no cream, no sugar. We'll have a beer with me in Sutherland.
I like that painting behind your head. I can only see half of it, but it looks pretty cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Oh,
That's good. I'm just looking forward.
Sorry, repeat, Patrick?
I said I'm just looking forward to meet Geben in Sutherland, where we can actually sit in a relaxed environment and just chat about everything that was been discussed tonight and some more stuff, you know. So yeah, once we meet in person, we will go in more detail about this, and you'll also have the opportunity to speak to farmers not only from the Harvey side in the Free State, but also from the Northern Cape, and that's the whole idea why we've set this thing up in Sutherland as well.
Fantastic. Okay, now just talking about your charity, let me just show that painting. We're going to be shutting down the auction in about 5 or 10 minutes, guys. So this is your last chance to get ownership of this beautiful Bonnie Hut painting of the elephant. Please don't miss out. I tell you what, 16,000 Rand, the current bid, that is cheap. This is a beautiful painting. So get your bids in quickly if you want a chance to get it. Now, Geben.
Yes, Uncle.
Now, I just want to put a couple of questions to you that people have put in the side chat here. Tinas Miller ask if they will draw in people and farmers to start markets and jobs in every town. And he also then goes on to say, even if there is markets in every town, can the markets be run by people in that town?
I think that is a more technical question, but the thinking is actually to deliver what can be delivered to the door straight from the farmer. That would work for every agricultural product, but I think that can definitely work. But yeah, that's ultimately, you know, if we can shorten the supply chain to the general public, is definitely part of why we see a window of opportunity in this. So definitely, I mean, if we can get people in the towns to create the old way of farmers market where you bring your produce and people buy what they need. But I think most people know exactly what they need, and if you can create an app where people can go on and say, I want this, this, and this, and at least they know that this is now being produced in the area. I'm not saying it's perfect already, but we can work towards that. So there's a lot of ways that we can do that. But there will always be, to a certain degree, a middleman for certain products. So yes, there will definitely be an opportunity for that, and it's definitely something to explore.
Okay, now you mentioned an app. Now I should tell people who are listening that you own an IT company, so you've actually got people with skills on the ground that could actually do this sort of stuff. Now, Fiona Timms has asked, how does the looming problem of EWC affect all these wonderful farming projects?
Okay. If you look at the food, the farm is just as important to us than it is to the farmer who owns it. So at the end of the day, we will go protect it. EWC, like I said earlier, the more people gets affected by theft, I think the more difficult it will become. But ultimately, I cannot understand why people don't realize that they need to protect the farmers. And the same when the town is have problems. I know in Ottosdal the farmers went and saved that town, and in Kulini and various places. So ultimately, people in the towns need to realize how important the boers are. And when I talk about the boer, I talk about the farmers, not the folk necessarily. And it's intertwined. So the fact that the farm was taken in Elandsfontein is up. What does that tell you? The people don't realize what they're letting happening around them is going to come home to roost. If people realize how important the food production is to our livelihoods, not necessarily for eating, but for all the other security reasons, that I cannot understand that every small town around there didn't go and protect that piece of land. And that's why if EWC comes and let them come, then we protect it with our lives and we do what our forefathers did. There's nothing else to it. We will fight it legally as far as possible, but when it gets to the stage where it probably is going to get to eventually, then we have to defend it. I literally don't have another answer for it. If you realize how important the food, the means of production of the food, they want to destroy it, then we need to protect that. And that's the most important thing that we protect, that we need to protect at this stage. So unfortunately, the farmers and the people in the towns, your fate is intertwined, and you need to quickly realize that.
Now, Fred, Patrick, any of you want to put a question to Geben?
No, I'm fine, thanks, Scott.
Fred, is there a question you'd like to put to Geben?
I'm perfectly understood, and I have no other further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll be putting you guys in touch so you can discuss stuff privately. And Nikki, is there something you'd like to ask Geben?
Thank you, Scott. No, I've got no more questions. Just one answer for the person who asked about from youth to pensionhood. How do you live in a situation like this? Well, our solution was to build a portable home, which also addresses the legal. You can't just buy a farm and set up a village or a town. There's a legal constraints in this country. So setting up like a campsite or living in a portable home addresses that. But Geben seems to be talking about something that I initially started off with, and that is to set up one of these in every single caravan park. So years ago, every town in South Africa had a caravan park. So if you were traveling, you could just arrive at a town and go find the caravan park and pitch your tent, or if you didn't have one, you could even just sleep in your car and then carry on moving the next day. But these caravan parks all have public ablution facilities, cooking facilities, and open space to be able to put in a little vegetable garden, which will assist with feeding yourselves. And then these people can also do arts and crafts, which they can sell on the weekends in a flea market. So if we could set up something like that nationwide overnight, and to generate an income, you literally can recycle your rubbish and produce things from that. And there's just so many things one can do with recycling. But Geben, you need to definitely join MMR and Scott, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been very interesting.
Fabulous. Now, Geben, is there something you'd like to say in response to what Nikki said?
No, I can only concur what she's saying. Is that's one thing I know. We won't be able to cast foundations and go through rezoning processes, and then we will be 2050 and nothing gets done. So we're going to find ways of providing good, solid living conditions, but also within. We're going to be smart about it. That's what I can say. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I know about people that's developed modular systems that you can actually quickly pick up on pedestals, and there's no way in a legal definition that I classify that as a permanent housing, because I can, within a day, put a load bed on site and put that house onto the load bed. So we've already, that is definitely the thinking, and it seems the more we talk, the more like-minded and cross-pollination there is. So I would definitely like to continue this discussion with all the people involved.
Fantastic. Right, now, what I'm going to do, there's just one final question for you, Geben. Swifrican has asked, in which geographic area would such a farm be? Do you have any ideas on that? Or Nikki, do you have any ideas on that?
Yes.
Sorry, Evan.
No, you can go
thank
first.
Evan does seem to be following our tracks. We've been looking at properties all around the country, and there's some beautiful properties in Natal. 1/4 of our population lives in Natal, so it makes sense. Just tonight, Patrick and I are both Natalians, as an example. So according to our statistics, half the population here. Mossel Bay.
Carry on.
Mossel Bay has been a very popular site for most of our MMR members. We've looked at quite a few farms there. We've totally fallen in love with one that sounds like Geben might have been talking about the same farm. It's been up for sale for some time. And then, of course, there's also other areas on the West Coast that look ideal. So each area has its niche market. So Natal is a very dangerous, volatile area. And if you listen to Sina van Rensburg, you'd be wanting to get to the Western Cape as quick as possible. But in reality, you can't really grow food there. So, and then if you look at our history, which Geben is obviously passionate about, the Free State is also an area that we should be inhabiting again. So the Cape, the Free State, the whole of South Africa. But again, we don't want to send women and children into dangerous areas. So that's why we've been focusing on the Cape area to start off with.
Right. Okay. Now, look, we could be talking for hours, and I get that. So I'm just going to put you guys in contact. But just to close off the session, I just want to say, Marlena, what's the current bid on the painting? Because we need to close that auction off so that money can be sent to Patrick's charity. And before we go, I'm just going to give each one of you an opportunity to just say what's in your mind, just speak to people, just share your thoughts, and then we'll shut down the live stream. Starting with you, Nikki.
Scott, thank you so much for this opportunity. God works in mysterious ways. I'm sure big things will come of this, and hopefully a domino effect. And to all the listeners and participants, thank you. And we look forward to uniting our farmers and our people.
Fabulous. Fred, something you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's encouraging to hear that. I won't say Eben's younger, but he's certainly younger than me. So to see that young people are working at this, and without the young people, we are not going to get anywhere. And that being even on the offensive side, we need young people's thinking. Their enthusiasm is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Geben.
Right. Now, Geben, if I can ask you to just say some concluding comments. Before you do, Davi Oosthuizen has said, we started with traceability of meat and fresh produce about a year ago in our region, but I haven't quite got it off the fly yet, so I think it's good that we meet with your host, or meet with Geben. So there you go. Okay, over to you, Geben.
What can I say that hasn't been said? The only message I have is actually for my generation. I think if you have kids, go look them in the eye and really ask yourself, what are you doing to improve that child's future? I think you need to stop believing everything you read on the news and all the mainstreams, and you need to become the man in your house again. I think that's the important thing. You need to take control of our lives, and we need to become men again. And by that, I'm not saying anything against women, but unfortunately, the men need to stand up in this country, and my generation is very quiet at the moment, and we need to stand up. We need to make a stand and show the world that we are still Boers, and we will resist what they are going to do. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. I'm not asking you to be hateful or anything. I'm asking you to a call to form part of a solution, if it's ours or somebody else, but form part of someone's solution, and just don't do anything and wait for the Americans or the English or the Germans or anyone to come help you. Nobody helps people that don't help themselves. And that is literally, that's all I can say, Uncle Scott.
Okay. All right, and Patrick, over to you. But before you say some concluding comments, I just want to let you know that Danelle X has won the auction with a 16,000 rand. Now, Danelle, if you can please just send me an email just so we can get that confirmation. And Marlena, can you just drop Patrick's banking details into the side chat? And I'll also, when Danelle contacts me, I'll send him them as well. Patrick, over to you.
Well, thank you, Scott. Well, I first want to thank Loving Life for donating that painting and doing the auction tonight. The funding is going to come in very handy, especially for the Sutherland trip. So, yeah, that's a blessing in disguise. So we can get the vehicles now to go to Sutherland with all this stuff. And to Geben, thanks for your idea. And we'll definitely chat about this more once we meet in Sutherland. I like to speak face to face to people. So we're going to sit down there and have a good chat about it. And I just want to thank Loving Life for all the support they've been giving us for the last, 2 years now, Scott?
About 2 years, yeah.
And to you, you've always been there. And you've helped a hell of a lot of people through this channel. And you're still doing it. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick. Well, look, you're very welcome. And I just want to say to the moderators, and in particular Marlena, keep up the fantastic work you guys are doing. We need moderators keeping an eye on people, because we always get some trolls coming through, don't we? And for everybody else who's joined us tonight, thank you so much for participating, if you've put messages in the side chat. And for those who might watch the video later, thank you for watching. And just to the four of you guys, I just want to say that there's a fantastic opportunity here to really kick this project on, really getting it moving. And as I said just now, I'll put you all in. Well, Patrick and Geben are in touch, but I'll put Geben in touch with Nikki and with Fred, so that you guys can just work directly. And please, the only thing I'd ask is that when exciting things happen, please let me know, and we'll do a live stream so that we can tell the world what's happening. Okay?
Thanks, Uncle Scott.
Okay.
Will do.
Right, guys, I'm going to close down the live stream now. please take care and catch up again soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.